welcome to the Schmoofs kitchen. Again? Maybe? Again, welcome back. So, today we are cooking one of the, I want to say my favorite dish at Disneyland. Today Kristen is cooking.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a favorite dish, but it's one we'll do.
It's a good one. The Countdown to Chicken Fusilli Pasta from Rockett Pizza Port. Let me rephrase that. Little green alien pizza planet, a better place. I don't even know what the name is. They changed it. It's still Rockett Pizza Port. It's at Disneyland. It's in Tomorrowland. It is the chicken fusilli pasta, and it's awesome. Today's recipe calls for chicken, of course, milk, heavy cream. Pasta is important. The sauce is even more important. Every recipe that we've looked at has called for packets of sauce. If you want to make your own alfredo or add in your own pesto, go ahead. We're going to follow what D23 says to do for once.
That and it was just too much effort to try and make it from scratch.
A little too much. I hate tomatoes. Tomatoes are in the recipe. And then fresh ground Parmesan cheese, which was actually hard to find right now during quarantine because
they're only getting like small shipments. So like the first couple of times we tried to get it, we went to the store too late and they were gone.
Yep.
So we made a couple of changes to this chicken. It says in the recipe to just have smoked chicken, but I usually feel like the chicken doesn't have a lot of flavor. So what we've done instead is we have marinated this chicken overnight. It's about 2 pounds worth of chicken, and we've marinated it in just some Italian dressing just to try and pick up some of those flavors. And we're gonna grill it. So that is a little different than getting smoked chicken. But this is our recipe, because this is what we want to make.
We are still following the D23 recipe, so we're still doing something by the book a bit, I guess. Let's get started.
So first things first, we're gonna go ahead and cook the chicken, just so we can get it out of the bag. So stay tuned.
A little bit on fire, it's fine.
It's a little bit on fire. It's okay. Toby, are you excited for pasta? Hear that sizzle.
Hopefully putting seasoning on it will make it a little bit better than Disneyland.
So this recipe does call for 2 pounds of dry pasta. So we do have these are essentially 16 ounces, a box. We're gonna go ahead and put 2 boxes into our pasta water. Finally boiling. And we are going for al dente, so that means it's not quite done yet. So you want a little bit of crunch left in the pasta, and that'll help as the sauce is heated and everything like that. It'll help cook it a little bit more, but it also gives you a bit more texture when it comes to your pasta. So we'll be back with this as soon as it's done cooking.
Having a grill is nice. So the chicken is totally cooked now. The marinade you can still see maybe bits and pieces on it, but it has a nice char from the grill. So it's going to add to that lack of smokiness that is requested in the original recipe. The original, if you go to Disneyland, the recipe you'll see there, they don't slice the chicken, they actually chunk the chicken. So I don't know how I'm going to chunk chicken, except carefully.
Ooh, that's a chunk.
Is that a chunk? That'll work.
This is what we call cutting your food. Brett apparently doesn't know how to do this, but that's because he eats everything by guzzling it down.
Yeah.
So now we have our chicken all cut. We tried to get some squares, but Brett's not the best at this. So you didn't do very well with shapes in school, did you?
Yeah, to a point, I guess. I wasn't able to chunk it.
It's because he wasn't using a sharp knife. But we will come back to this. It looks really good. Score 1 for marinade, yo.
There's
no editing.
I really hate tomatoes.
We're making them small. You're fine. But you love this dish. I hate tomatoes, but I'm going to go to the one thing where I have to get tomatoes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the alfredo sauces are in pot.
Cooking with Brett is like cooking with a 3-year-old who can reach the countertops. It's really the worst thing in the world. Okay, So we're gonna move on to the sauce. We will have the recipe linked down below. We said earlier we're using the D23 recipe. However, Brett's really not good with shopping lists either, so we don't necessarily have all the right ingredients. And we are gonna personalize a little bit more in terms of how much cheese we're gonna use, what kind of pesto we're using. So this is kind of our current spread. Big things that you're gonna need is we do have alfredo sauce mix. These are 1.6 ounces, I think. The recipe calls for 5 ounces. We're gonna call it 4.8 and say that that's good. And then we're gonna use 2 cups of heavy cream, 2 cups of a low-fat milk. It calls for 2 ounces of cheese, but we are gonna use more than that. It does also call for 3 ounces of pesto. We do have like a pesto mix that's very similar to this. That's what the recipe calls for, but we only had 0.5 ounces of it, so their packets are much smaller, which we didn't realize. So we are gonna use just this particular pesto, and that'll make a little bit of a change. And then here we have some crumbled sun-dried tomatoes that we'll be adding both to the sauce and then it's a garnish on top. So, first things first, we're gonna go ahead and in a large saucepan you wanna combine all of the elements. So now that Brett has so kindly half opened all of the Alfredo sauces, we'll complete that process. The heck you do, yo? What is this? Why is this? Why is this a thing? This is how Brett opens packets. So just leaves them.
Yeah, I didn't fully cook. Pour the Alfredo sauce.
Quite a bit of Parmesan. Like I said, this is my favorite. So this is not an exact replica, but if there's anything Brett and I have learned, we aren't good at cooking down to the T in things. We have to be a little bit more willy-nilly, if you will. So we're gonna go ahead. We're using about a 1/3 cup of this pesto mix, maybe a little bit less. I'm not a huge pesto fan, just like Brett's not a huge fan of tomatoes, but we'll get there.
Everything mixed together works out.
At least it does at Disneyland. Here at the Schmoofs kitchen, we're not quite sure. Perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and use 2 cups of water. Dilute some of that down.
And then how much more?
2 cups.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
We need a bigger pot.
This is the biggest one we have. Oh boy. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna go ahead and stir that up in order to kind of get that powder broken up. We're gonna go ahead and put it on a low heat. The thing with this, according to this recipe, is you kind of want to stir it constantly, and that makes sense considering how much dairy is in here, because that's not something you want burning or doing any of that. This looks really disgusting.
Yeah. Might need to whisk it.
Success is had.
Oh, right. Tomatoes.
So the other thing you're gonna do is it's about 1 ounce of chopped sun-dried tomatoes. So we're
There was
gonna
about
add
3 ounces in this bag, and we took out about a 1/3. So
yeah, we're gonna add a little bit more than 1 ounce, but the rest we're gonna keep for some garnish when we get pasta done. It's starting to look more like sauce. So that's a plus. I think one of the things you do get when you're using, say, a true pesto as opposed to a packet is that it is going to be more fragrant. So you are going to smell that pesto a lot more. I hadn't even realized that there was pesto in this dish.
I had no idea.
Until we saw the recipe. So that is going to be something interesting. Now that we're getting somewhat to the point of not being as chunky, we're still going to stir. Like I said, stir constantly as we have it on low heat, but we're going to go ahead and move it to the stove.
Here's the completed sauce. We added a bit of flour just to, get it to thicken up a little bit. And I know you can't smell through the camera, but it smells just like Disneyland, which is a magical thing.
Okay, so it's been about an hour. But we finally have everything done.
Prep time, 30 minutes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's cooked.
Yeah, we're good.
So let's go ahead and we've got our pasta all set here. Let's get some of this chicken on it first. It's so good.
Let me go ahead and get tongs. We're not savages.
Debatable.
Hi, Toby.
Toby is also very much of the opinion that he should get some chicken. Now we have our sauce, and we are going to go ahead and ladle that on.
Your single full ladle?
So, now that we've got that done, we're just going to add a couple of accoutrements. As I mentioned, I have a big thing for Parmesan, so since we had so much, we're just going to sprinkle some freshly grated Parmesan right over the top. And end with some more sun-dried tomato crumbles. We're going to do just a little bit because Brett's going to have to eat this. And while it's accurate, someone is a ridiculous human being. All right, so that's done. There you have it. Chicken fusilli pasta from Disneyland.
Hopefully it was good. Let's find out.
Let's go, let's go.
Chicken, noodle, there's a tomato in there too, oh god. This is bad, you can't have this.
Let me try.
No, this is bad.
Let me try. Okay, we got some chicken. That's a good chunk. I must have got that one. I know, Toby.
Yeah, it's a death end. Yeah, it's good.
Hey, good.
It worked.
All right.
We'll post a link to the D23 recipe down below, and also our little modifications that we added to it. Chicken's a huge player because the chicken's much better now. Adding the different pesto sauce is good. Adding flour is good for the thickening agent. It's a winner, and it's easy. I mean, it took us like an hour because we were filming and stuff, but it's easy. It's not bad to make. You can make this at home.
We're also not very good at the cooking.
Yeah, that too.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for watching. Toby says hi too. We'll post pictures of Toby on Instagram. Make sure you're following us on Instagram.
And we'll add some soon.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Thanks for following along.